Hello everybody, dear friends and astrology lovers, clients, dear followers. Here is Olga one more time. I will present you the analysis of the first week of October. We will talk about the transit planetary aspects. The week will be very constructive, full of constructive energies. For the first reason for that is that we will live the full moon in Aries on Thursday, October 5th. But before to talk in details about each planetary transit aspect, I would like to say a couple of words about the general characteristics of the month of October. What will be its particularities? Well, I would say that the month of October 2017 will allow us to put the emphasis on the subjects of resources, on changes in relationships. We'll be able also to reconsider the our system of values. That is, to have a certain choice in relation to our values. We will give up to some of them, to some of our values, and at the same time we will accept some new values in our system of values in our life. Right? This is what we call the reconsideration, when you review the system of something. In this case, the system of values. During the month, most of the planets will pass from the sign of Virgo to the sign of Libra, and the planets that are in the sign of Libra, they will pass to the sign of Scorpio. We have Venus and Mars now in Virgo, they will pass to Libra, and the Sun from Mercury and Jupiter from Libra will pass to the sign of Scorpio. The most important events and changes in October will take place in everything that concerns our interaction with society, with the outside world, in relations with other people. That is, in all types of partnerships. Another very interesting observation, that in October we will witness the beginning of several planetary cycles. Actually, some of planetary cycles are going to, they pass for us almost unnoticed. But we do observe, we do feel in one way or another the cycles of slow planets. Here we talk about the beginning of a cycle, Mars-Venus, and the beginning of a new cycle, Sun-Mercury, and the new cycle of Jupiter. I will talk about it in the video corresponding to the week when the Jupiter starts its new cycle. What does it mean, the beginning of a common new cycle, Mars-Venus? The cycle starts on the day of the conjunction of these two planets, Mars-Venus. Starting from this moment, on the 5th of October, Mars and Venus will continue their transit movements, and these planets move with its own different speed, right? They will have retrograde phases meanwhile, between this conjunction and their next conjunction, approximately in 2 years. So we will expect the beginning of a 2-year cycle of Mars and Venus. The same for the new cycle Sun and Mercury. They will form conjunction on the 8th of October in Libra. Well, if you talk about the first half of the month, for our further development and for the implementation of our plans and projects, we will have to interact with others by showing to the outside world all our skills, abilities, and experience. We should not stay at home, isolated, or keeping distance from other people in the society, in our comfort zone. We have to show up to the entire world. From the end of the first half, from the middle of October, and especially during the second half of the month, we will be going through processes of serious transformation of our relationships with the world, society, and with other people. This transformation may be associated either with the transition to deeper layers of interaction, and these interaction will be related to resources and values, or this transition may be this transformation may be associated, unfortunately, with the violation of the balance of the axis, my possessions, property, and possession property of others, which is the axis of the signs Scorpio, Taurus, my Taurus, the possessions of others, Scorpio, second and eighth house, right? Because in the second half of the month, Sun, Mercury, and Jupiter leaves Libra, and these planets enter the sign of Scorpio. And if we violate the balance of the axis, Taurus, Scorpio, second, eighth house, this can exacerbate claims, contradictions, and which in its turn may cause a devastating crisis. Well, I will maybe talk about that in details in one of my future videos that covers the corresponding period, right? If we get back to the first half of the month, the first half of October, especially the first week, will be the most saturated with important events and changes, and some of them may be decisive for the upcoming months and even years. The first week of October sees, as I said before, the beginning of a new cycle of Venus-Mars, which formed the conjunction on the 5th of October. And during the conjunction Venus-Mars in Virgo, we witness the beginning of the three important life cycles. Yes, of one cycle, but I divided this cycle in three subcategories. The cycle of the implementation of our values in the real life. I mean, the cycle of exchange of resources with the outside world and with other people, and the cycle of relationships, personal, professional, and social. So what we may expect with the beginning of this new cycle of Venus-Mars, we can expect that the following trends of our lives will change during the next 2 years. Practicality, efficiency, mutual utility, usefulness in personal, professional, and social affairs. Second, strategies in the exchange, in the way how we exchange resources with others, particularly in the context of work, specific projects, responsibilities, and commitments. And the third trend, opportunities of implementation of our values in the reality and in concrete life projects. But things will not be so easy, because it must be said that the trends in everything that I've mentioned before, that I enumerated before, will start their development in difficult, not obvious conditions. First of all, the conjunction Venus-Mars will take place in the sign of fall of Venus in Virgo. Venus in Virgo is in fall, right? This is a weak position for Venus. And also under the restrictive impact of Saturn, because Venus and Mars will form squares with Saturn. Venus forms a square on the 8th of October and Mars on the 11th of October. This is a restricting aspect, right? If we live the beginning of the cycle automatically, that is, without conscious control of our reactions, of our behavior, and without internal work, the probability of negative scenarios in everything I mentioned before will be very high. We know that we are aware that all new cycles in our lives always begin on the basis, on the content of the essence that have been generated in the past. And if some of us have not eliminated old problems and contradictions at the beginning of a new cycle, the new cycle will begin even in the more difficult atmosphere. This will manifest itself in crisis and dramatic situations. In order to start something new, we have to get rid of old problems. We should not bring them with us to the new situation, to the new cycle, right? Okay, the beginning of October actually is extremely productive. Is the beginning of new projects, new professional contacts, new cooperations. It's the time of creative productivity. This is a good time to start a new creative, as I said, creative project, to start a physical activity aiming the improvement of our health condition. We may also meet a lot of new people, and all this is possible thanks to two major constructive, harmonious aspects in the beginning of the week. On October 1st, actually today, on Sunday when I record the video, Mars forms trine with Pluto. This aspect is active until October 7th, actually during the entire week. Of course, the day of the exact aspect, the effect of the aspect is more intense. Trine Mars Pluto gives us a lot of energy that can be directed to a specific task. During the first days of the week, we could do a lot, achieve a lot in a short period of time, because everything that is secondary and unnecessary will be easily eliminated. It will be easy for us to eliminate secondary and unnecessary things. The first day of the first days of October is also a good time to take care of our health, to start a new diet, or to do physical exercises. Mars forms trine with Pluto on the 1st of October, and October 3rd, Venus in its turn forms trine with Pluto. The time of its activities between October 1st and 6th. The period is favorable to solving problems of finances, taxes, property, and of course common financial problems, because Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio, which is the symbol of common finances. We could get financial support from outside. Business cooperation could be actually cooperation, okay, work in the team could be the source of income. And also the October 1st to the 4th, these are good days for renewal in love and family relationships. It's a moment of intense emotions, especially sexual emotions. People can be attracted to each other, by this particular magnetism, by passion, because once again, Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio, which is the most sensual and the most sexual sign. For some of us, the first days of October could be a critical moment, since the conjunction of Venus and Mars was preceded by their conflicting aspects with Neptune. Do you remember the last week we had opposition Venus-Neptune and opposition Mars-Neptune? That is to say, the conjunction will occur in an atmosphere of devastation and disappointment, evident or concealed, because we are still in the orb of these two oppositions with Neptune. Another thing, the conjunction will take place in Virgo, and this can add very categorical and slightly mercantile connotation to these subjects and relationships with the romantic relationships. Yes. Another very important observation, and here we're going to talk about the beginning of the second common cycle for Sun and Mercury. Before the 11th of October, all the important events in our relations with others and in financial affairs will take place in the environment of the beginning of the Sun-Mercury cycle in Libra, because Sun and Mercury will form conjunction on the 8th of October. The realization of our plans and ideas becomes possible in the context of cooperation and partnership. This was already said. And also our projects can be exposed to the public to get support from other people and take on new dimensions. This is the symbolism of conjunction Sun-Mercury. Imagine that all this conjunction Venus-Mars will correspond to the day of the full moon in Aries on the 5th of October, on Thursday, 2:40 p.m. GMT -4, I'm in New York time, in the 13th degree of Aries, the full moon. Wow, I adore the full moon. The full moon will fill this week with concentrated energy. It will bring culmination, apogee to a lot of processes that we go through. The full moon will clarify many situations, will unveil the essence of a lot of situations, the essence of their evolution. But the full moon, of course, can become a moment of aggravation of all contradictions and problems that have been accumulated, which happens or each time on the full moon. Under the influence of the full moon, we will actively strive to show ourselves at the forefront. We'll manifest persistence in the pursuit of our goals. We have a lot of energy. We will be able to use the time of the creative energy of the full moon for the most important tasks. We must also not forget that, especially on Wednesday and Thursday, you know this, the day before the full moon, the day of the full moon, and the day after, under the influence of the conjunction Venus-Mars and of the full moon in Aries, all contradictions and problems accumulated, especially in relationships with others and in financial matters, can literally explode. It's an extremely concentrated time, too accurate, too exact aspect, opposition, full moon and conjunction Venus-Mars. Wow. If we forget caution that we must control our emotions, we will be involved in conflicts, in critical situations, in situations of struggle and rivalry, and we will likely have exacerbated emotional reactions. I would stay at home this day, honestly. Because I don't want to kill somebody. Sorry. Okay. Now, if you look at the chart of the full moon, what happens between other planets, around the day of the exact aspect, opposition Sun Moon, which is technically the full moon. We remember that the last week we had the opposition Jupiter-Uranus, which was accurate on September 28. This is a critical aspect, crisis, the aspect of crisis, promising big changes, going to, like changes like losses, and we are still in the orb of this opposition, because the position is formed by slow planets, so its orb doesn't disappear the next day after the exact aspect. Okay, we all agree on that. The first tense background aspect for the full moon. The second, the point of the full moon, I mean the sun, which is in opposition to the moon, forms the conjunction with the Mercury. Well, on the 8th, okay, 3 days later, but being in its orb already. And Mercury in turn will form a square with Pluto on the 9th of October, the second tense background aspect. And the ruler of the full moon, Mars, because the full moon occurs in Aries, although it has the favorable aspect, the harmonious aspect, the conjunction with Venus in this moment, also forms the square with Saturn, to be exact, on the 11th of October. So all these background tense aspects are not accurate at the day of the full moon, but they are in their orb. We are in their orb. The full moon occurs in the orb of these aspects that are forming. That all this means that the day of the full moon will be the moment when the phase of the most intense physical and mental activity, of course, is expected, and this burden may be rather heavy for us, not really compatible with our creative development, and it will limit this burden will limit us in the options of possible actions. Around the day of the full moon, of course, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, it's important to be involved in external processes, to listen, to analyze more, to be more careful in assessing what is happening. It's not the most appropriate period for finding new ideas and solutions. We look for and we find new ideas and solutions on the day of the new moon. The period of the full moon may be rather favorable to choosing the most productive approaches to projects already implemented and existing. Now, from Thursday and Friday after the full moon, The pressure of Saturn will be felt, which impact of Saturn, of its aspect with other planets, limits and cools relations with other people and with money. I remember that on the 8th of October, I recall you that, yes, Saturn will form square with the Venus on the 8th of October and square with Mars on the 11th. So Venus square Saturn, the 8th of October. So after the dynamic development of events and situations during the first half of the week before the full moon, it seems that in the second half of the week we will face difficult choices, responsibilities, obligations, in the saddest variants of scenario, losses, disappointments, alienations, and obstacles. We have two possibilities, as to always, this is the way how it works during the tense aspects with the malefic planets. We can work on these aspects, square Venus Saturn. We have a chance to achieve constructive results through our patience, through the ability to give up to minor and secondary elements in favor of the essentials, through the fact that we assume our commitments and our responsibilities, through the fact that we dare to make serious decisions, we will have the opportunity to implement our projects in partnerships and finance, and especially we'll be able to start long-term projects. Long-term is the symbolism of Saturn, so we can turn the situation in our favor, in our advantage, right? If we refuse to face this aspect and to work it out properly, if we make decisions impulsively and recklessly, if we are involved in conflicts and confrontations, then all the expected changes will take place in the context of constraints, obstacles, claims from outside, external forcings, when everything and everybody is against us. In this case, on Thursday, Thursday, Friday, we risk to spoil a lot of situations, relationships, creating many problems which consequences will be visible already in the end of the week. Good luck. Those who have a lot of fire and element and air element in their chart, we never have patience. I talk for myself. I already mentioned this aspect, the conjunction Sun Mercury in Libra on October 8. During the next 4 months, we will live a slightly different information related to information. We will focus on partnerships, agreements, on the superiority of the interest of the group over personal interests. In other words, the information space will be filled with communication, new encounters. We will intuitively look for like-minded people to create stronger links, ties with them. So if I was about to resume, to make the conclusion, the most difficult, the most unfavorable and stressful day of the week when we need to show maximum caution is, of course, Thursday, October 5th, the day of the full moon and of the conjunction Venus-Mars. And in the second half of the week, some things will slow down because of the square Venus-Saturn. I wish all of you a marvelous, excellent, awesome week. Happy full moon. Stay wise and take care of yourself. And I talk to you very soon the next week. Goodbye.